welcome to episode 5 of the Red Shed rebuild. It's 9 o'clock in the morning and it is absolutely roasting already. So today I'm going to be doing the wiring on the car and a few other bits. I think that's a fire engine. Anyway, so I'm going to be doing the wiring on the car and a few other things in the dash. I'm going to be integrating cruise control, climate control. I'm going to be integrating the tarts mirrors, so like the sun visors which have got lights in them. What else is there? I've written a list. Here it is. I'm going to be doing rear speakers if I've got time, automatic lights, and with that automatic wipers. I've probably already said automatic wipers, and then there's a few other bits as well, so I might try and integrate the alarm as well. So how do you actually do this kind of thing? Basically I had a 182 loom which I have depinned, so I've worked out, I know because I've got the wiring diagrams. It's Renault Visu for this kind of age of Clio anyway. So I've got Renault Visu diagrams that I've gone through, and pin by pin, wire by wire, I know exactly what goes where, and I have labelled everything. This stuff is actually pretty easy. It's just completely logical. All you need to do is follow the diagram and work out which components you've got. It's all colour coded. Everything is coded so you know exactly what each wire does. On this car anyway, the wiring colours are identical to those in the wiring diagrams. Not to say that they always will be, but that makes it a very, very easy job. For example, light blue is the side lights, so you always know that a light blue wire, or you know, most of the time, a light blue wire is going to be the one that makes the piece of equipment illuminate when you put the side lights on or the headlights on. I've got myself a little Excel spreadsheet which shows the before and after, because I need to take a number of bits out of the existing wiring loom to put the new stuff in. So that's pretty simple from a wiring perspective. Don't be too scared of it. I know people are scared of wiring. It's fine. Okay, let's see what we've got. Okay, so these are the cruise control bits. I've got a steering wheel. This is just for demonstration. This one's delicious. Okay, so you need the steering wheel with the buttons on it. You then need this little bit of wiring. This goes into the back of the squib. This squib is a cruise control squib, so it's got this additional connector on it for cruise control. You do need that. You can't choose the existing one. This is then a panel with a cruise control switch on it, so you've got cruise control and speed limiter. Cruise control and speed limiter works by just changing the 12 volt signal. So you have this yellow wire is 12 volts coming in, and then this switch, all it does is direct 12 volts down one of the lines. So one of these, I can't remember which one is which, but anyway, one of these turns the speed limiter on and one of these turns the cruise control on. So when this is live with 12 volts in it, that just lets the ECU know that, yep, the connection, cruise control should now be operating, or speed limiter should be operating. These two wires from the cruise control buttons, they just are different resistance. So you've got 4 buttons here, but there's only 2 wires coming out the back of them, and this is commonly known in the Clio world. But all these do is just change the resistance. So it's something like 0 resistance, 300 ohms, 600 ohms, and 1200 ohms. They could be slightly wrong. And then you also need the clutch switch as well. These are the tarts mirrors with the lights on them. Then this is the climate control stuff. So the climate control stuff, this thing goes on here, something like that. This is the blower matrix. I don't know if this is different between them, but that goes on there under the scuttle. Then this is the actual heater matrix itself. This is the button panel, so this will connect into the loom. This connector is on the heater matrix, so it goes in there. And this one is one that I will be adding into the loom. This is the rear loom, which has got the rear speakers on, so I actually just need to take the rear speaker wires out of here. There's only 4 wires that I actually need in that loom. Everything else is taken apart. This loom here is the automatic light loom. So this is the connection from the stalk itself. This one, these are all of the relays which associate with that. I've wired up everything so you can see, right, R107, that goes into E1. I've got this one which goes into a number of fuses in the fuse box. So I'm actually going to try and integrate that as much as I possibly can. This loom over here is the external part of the loom which goes for the climate control. So that plugs into the climate control box. This goes into the earth on the windscreen wiper, and then a number of these other bits go into a power wire, so I'm going to have to splice one of the power wires, a few other bits as well. And then this is the main climate control loom, so this plugs into the back of the panel, and then you can see I've labelled absolutely everything up. So I've got a lot of labels on here. Okay. I've got the dash because I'm also going to put in a cooled glove box as well, and the existing dash is completely knackered. Okay, let's get time lapsing.
Always gone when I need you. You know I'll be there for you. Where are you now? Where are you now? Always try my best for you. You just know it is true. Where are we now?
I'm now at the point where I got the dash out. It took about half an hour I think, but we'll check the time lapse. So you can see this is all of the wiring. A lot of this is redundant now, so this is the one for the existing blower unit. So the power actually comes into the car before it then goes back out to the blower. So I'm going to actually remove this whole bit of loom. Then this needs to come out. This whole unit needs to come out. So I'm going to take this out, and there are two things which I don't know if you can see there. These two here in the bulkhead, they go through the bulkhead, and there's some little connectors on the other side, so the coolant actually flows into here, and this is the heater matrix. So to take the heater matrix out, you need to take the frame of the dash out. So I'm going to take this out. It's mainly got a number of 13s, 13 millimeters along it. You need to take the UCH bracket off. This has just got 13 there, and then it kind of pulls outwards like that. We've got a number of connectors here on the UCH which will just pop out with relative ease, and some of the relays for the automatic lights will go on the back of that. Wow, I really like it that you can see the UCH has had a leak on it at some point. Brilliant. Okay, so this is the R107. There's a 10mm bolt on the other side of this. To get to that, you need to take you need to take the scuttle off. You need to take the windscreen wiper motor out, and you need to take the washer bottle out as well. Then once you get the 10mm bolt out, you kind of wiggle it off, and then this will come out. So I'm going to take the dash frame off, and then probably one of the most difficult jobs I'll have to do today, and the muckiest anyway, is to get this out. So I'm going to do that now. These are the two connectors which you need to take off for the heater matrix. They've got little tabs on the side of them that you need to push in on both sides at once to release them from the heater matrix. This job can take hours for 2 clips, so be prepared to be really angry and frustrated and cut your hands up, but I'm going to give it a go now. Oh, I can't believe how quickly I managed to do that. Very, very pleased. Okay, so this is a look at the clip. So basically, oh, we've got a lot coming out there. So what you do is that you push in one side, and then when you push in the other, you should be able to see there's a little locating, you can't see, but anyway, there's a little locating tab. Both sides have to be pushed in. You'll hear when it clicks. So I pushed this one in with my finger, and then I pushed this one in with a screwdriver, and then just pulled it off. It takes quite a lot of wiggling, and it's a bit difficult. I've moved the airbox to take it out, but I've actually managed to do that in about 5 minutes. So I just need to pull the heater matrix out now. I totally forgot. You have to take the scuttle panel out to do this, because there's 2 bolts in the top of the scuttle panel that need to be removed before you can take that out. So I'll do that. taking the heater matrix out, I had found those extra 2 bolts under there that I needed to take out. There's also these 2 bolts here, which I hope you can see. Yeah, so there's one and there's the other. These go on the blower matrix, so take these 2 out and then the blower matrix should pop out. You will have seen in the time lapse that I've taken off the black bulkhead panel as well, because you need to take that off to get the heater matrix out. I lied, there's one more. It's there, and it's a 10mm.
I can't live with all these lies.
I've got the main climate control heater matrix in now, and I've got the blower assembly in the dash. In the scuttle, sorry. So I've got the blower assembly in here. This is the original loom. As you can see, the connector is actually the same as the one that goes into that, but all of these power wires and the wires going into this are different. Well, not all of them, but the majority of them are different. So I've got my climate loom over here, which is this one. This will plug directly in. I then need to splice this into the relay, which currently goes into which currently powers the heater matrix. Then these are a bunch of connections which all go into the R107, which is that bulkhead connector. Judging by these colours, I think that there are a few that I probably can reuse from what's there, but realistically it's going to be much easier for me to just completely change this part of the loom. I've completely deepened the old climate loom, so all the stuff from here now, just using my trusty little deepinning tool. You have to take these out the side of the R107 to get it done. Then I've just got the new wires now, so these are the pins which need to go in. There are less pins for the climate control, so there's only 4 here. These go in B1, 3, 4 and 5, I think. So I'm just going to put them through the grommet. You can remove this grommet, but it's easier not to. Well, I lie. It's easier if you remove it, but it's very difficult to remove. So I've got a screwdriver here that I've put through the grommet, and I'm just going to pull it wide so none of these pins scrape the insulation off the wires while I put them through. Then I need to solder on the power and this grey wire which goes down to the relay which turns the climate on and off. The climate control loom is done, so this is it. I probably need to take that bit up, but I've just retaped how it was beforehand. I've got this loom tape, this kind of thing, nothing special. And then I've cable tied it here just so I don't lose the bits. I'm not going to retape this bit at the moment because I need to add in the cruise control wires to here, I think. And that's it. So I've replaced the earth in here. This is the ground from the donor car. I've only had to solder 3 wires, which are the 2 power wires and one of the earths or signal for the relay, and that's it. So now I can move inside the car to do the rest of the loom. I've had a slight change of plan. I've taken the whole dash loom out now, which meant I had to take the seats out because the pre-tensioners wires come directly from the airbag ECU, which is in the dash loom. Also the side impact sensors, there was an earth here, and the handbrake on and off light wire thingy there. So I've taken the whole dash loom out and I've laid it out how it is, and now I just need to integrate all of this. I say just, but that's a lot. Now's a good time to enter the action again. So I've stripped out all the loom, the existing dash loom, so stripped out all of this dash loom, and this is what I've taken out of it. So I've taken out the headlight lever plug, and that's because everything on the automatic lights is different. So I've got this one, which I'm going to now be putting back into the loom. So I've put the climate control in, and this looks like a mess, but I've put the loom back in the car so that when I put the looms into it, I know roughly how to run them, because it curves. You need to just think about whether there's going to be tension on the loom when you try and ram it round a corner. So I'm going to now get the
other loom and I'm going to integrate it into this one. I've de-pinned everything from the old stuff, so there are loads of holes in the fuse box now. So in the fuse box and the 107 there are absolutely loads of spare places for fuses and pins and things like that, and also the UCH down there, the green plug that you can see, and the white one and the black one. I need to put some pins in those as well, and then we've got a lone relay down there which will now be joined by 3 or 4 other relays. Right, it's 6 o'clock on the first day of doing the wiring. It's a bit of a mess, so a lot of that stuff's the stuff I've taken out. This is how we're doing at the moment. Car doesn't actually start, so I will continue with this in a week. However, that will be like a flash for you. Maybe 1 week later. You join me after a whole week of work, and I've done a few bits to the car this week, nothing too special. I've mainly just got everything in place and ready for soldering. I've got about 10 or 12 connections that I do need to solder. This is how much I've had to rewire the loom here. So all of these stickers are pins that I've had to take out of the fuse board. I've also had to add an absolute load into the R107 connector as well. Then I've got earths, I've got a couple of powers and bits from the climate control. These are powers. This is diagnostics. This operates on CAN bus. I don't know if it's DCAN or KCAN or what the specific interface is, but anyway, it's CAN bus. So this is a CAN bus hub here, or this is where all of the wires come together. It doesn't actually matter which one you join it to. You could join it to any of these greeny wires, but I'm going to join it into the actual place where they all meet up here. This then comes down to the diagnostic socket. That's for the climate control. So when I'm using the climate control and I've got a plugged in clip, Renault Diagnostics, then I'll be able to see all of the sensor readings that this has got, so I can check that the internal and external temperature sensors are working properly. I also need to wire up this one. This is the internal temperature sensor. It goes to the clock, so I've got that to do as well. I've had to change the UCH because this was an N2 UCH and I've had to change it for an N3. That involved me changing the ECU and also the transponder on the key. Getting the ECU cover off this car was complete poo. Took me 2.5 hours. Then I've got the sun visors in now with the lights on. The ignition isn't on at the moment, but the lights do work. But I did break this clip in the process. This is the internal temperature sensor. I've also got the rain sensor, light sensor wired in now. That's all working. I checked that. The car is actually running at the moment. So that's it. I've just got a few bits to solder up. I'm also going to add in this here, which is 2 female USBs. So I'm going to hardwire that in. I found a spare fuse, and I've of course got a few leftover fusey bits from the from removing all the stuff. So I'm going to add in this on a separate fuse. This wire is seriously heavy duty for what this is going to be running, but it's 12 volt to 5 volt. It's got some kind of voltage step down and voltage regulator in here. I've used these on the track car and it's been very good, so I'm going to do that, and that's it. Oh no, it's not. God, there's so much to do. I'm also going to be rewiring this alarm plug because I can't get to the male side of this plug, and the alarm I've got doesn't have it. So I'm going to rewire this into a five-way super seal connector, and then I'll be able to plug the alarm in, and hopefully that will work. Join me later. I'm just about to start putting everything back together now. All of the heat shrink, all of the soldering is done, so I just need to rewrap the loom. So I'm just going to test everything is working now. So this should now connect to the climate control. So it looks like it has, which is good. Okay, so a few faults from where I'd kind of started it up without a lot of bits and pieces plugged in. Okay, it's good. So right, external temperature, right, here we go. So we can see that here external temperature is -64, and that's because it's not plugged in at the moment because I haven't got the door loom plugged in. So I'll plug that back in and see if that see if it's okay after that. Internal temperature sensor, which is
the one up here, that little blue dot there. Oh, can't focus. Oh well, I get that one there, the little blue dot. Yep, it is absolutely scorching in here. 45 degrees. Blown air temperature 32. It's very hot in here today. This thing is like a greenhouse. So I've plugged in the clock actually because the door was plugged in. It says 31 degrees on there. Now you can see external temperature 31 degrees. I am ready to vivap the loom. I've got this, it's non-adhesive loom tape, 19mm this stuff. 25 is probably better, but it's quite a bit more expensive, so 19 will do. Got this, I've actually got another roll of this as well. And then I've got this loom tape, 3M, but it's probably not 3M, is it? Let's face it. And another one which is exactly the same. So when I'm going around, I've just done this bit here. You just wrap it around, and then where the end is, I'm just taping it just in case it breaks off. But you might be able to see there, that's a slightly different coloured tape there because it's this stuff instead. So I just need to do that over the whole thing. I've started to tape it here. I've taken pictures of how this was beforehand, so I'll just rewrap it. There's probably going to be a few cable lengths that are a bit strange, but it should be fine. So this is a picture of how it was beforehand, and you can see I've laid it out in roughly the same shape now. So I'm just going to go around wrapping the whole thing, and then I should be ready to put the dash back in. Time to wrap, like Eminem, bruv. I've rewrapped the loom now, so you can see it's all covered in this non-adhesive loom tape, and I've added in the USB bit there, so you should be able to see that. Come on, focus. There we are. Okay, so you can see that, and then it's got these female USBs on the end. Some of this was actually taped, as you saw in the photo earlier. Now I just need to put this all back together. The only other bit that I've got to do is I need to add in the rear speakers, the rear speaker wires, which run under here and up into here. I'm actually not going to rewrap this rear loom for 4 wires. I'm just going to take these to the loom that's already there, so that will be slightly less OEM than the rest of it, but it will be the OEM wiring. So I'm just about to change the pedals on it, and right, this is the clutch, I think. Yeah, that's the clutch. Bit tired these ones, but oh well, they're better than what's already on there. Brake and accelerator, direct fit. Already unplugged this here, but there's 3 10mm bolts on this. There's another one down there. On the brake, you need to pop this clip out. So on the clutch, you've got a ball joint on top, which you can see there. You can just pop that off with the screwdriver on this end, and it comes undone. There's a 16mm bolt going through the brake and the clutch pedals, 16mm on each end. Pop that out. These inserts are the same for both pedals, but if you're buying pedals, sometimes they don't come with them because they just fall out like that. You can see how easily that thing falls out. So don't forget to put those back in. Got the pedals in, took about 10 minutes or so, but I just found this in the garage. So I'm going to chuck that one there as well. Just go straight over the top, standard bolt, goes in there. It's countersunk. Done. Part fitting cruise control to the car is to put a couple of pins in here because my car doesn't have it. If you've got a 172, then it will probably already have those pins, but mine doesn't. So I need to put my teeth back in. I need to put in B8, 9, 10 and 11 into this, the R107, and then I've done that, and then I run them down to this connector here on the ECU. So the pins that I need to put in the ECU connector, this is a diesel ECU connector, they're different on the
172, 182s, but anyway. The pins that I need to put in here happen to be the same as the ones that are in the UCH green and brown plugs. So if you're doing a DCI and you need to do cruise control, that's where you can get pins for the ECU from. I can't find ones that are the same colour as the wires, exactly the same, so I've just got some random ones. I've added 4 pins into the ECU. This is the R107. I've rewrapped everything, so now you can see it runs up here. Got the new climate loom here, got the alarm in, just got a couple of bits to bolt in on that one. And then the new wiring comes into here and then goes down into there. This is for the boost gauge, I haven't teed that in yet. And that's pretty much it in the engine bay. So I just need to mount the siren bracket and then I can reassemble the front and I'm actually done. I've got a few other things that I need to do, just tidying up bits, but apart from that I've done a 12-hour shift on this car today, so I'm feeling pretty grim. And I don't know if you can see, pretty filthy. Ugh. This is the inside at the moment though. So I've got the 197 wheel in, but that's going to be in a separate video. Climate control's in, boost gauge is in. What else have we got? I haven't put the auxiliary in. I've got the alarm sensors in though. Got another one over there. That's pretty much it. Okay. More bits to do. Very nearly forgot to mention, this is another change I'm making while I'm here. It originally had this tiny little washer bottle, so I'm changing that for one from a 182. This is much bigger because it had headlight washers. See, it's got 2 pumps in it, one for the windscreen washers and one for the headlamp washers. I'm not using the one for the headlamp washers, so I will only plug one of the pumps in, but I need the other one in there to seal the hole. I could probably put a grommet in there, but the pump is sealing it fine, so that is quite an increased capacity. I've just finished working on the red shed for the day. I've spent 14 hours on it. Oh, that was awful. But it's okay, it's done now. There's only a few more bits that I need to do on it, which is just ancillary stuff like putting in the auxiliary lead for the radio, and some other stuff which I can't remember because my brain isn't functioning. It's so hot. But anyway, for all intents and purposes, it's done. So I've got a DCI AT ECU in it now, and I just took it out for a drive and it's a bit pants. So I will pursue that further and see what's wrong with it. I have actually put one of these beforehand with an AT intercooler. This one doesn't have an AT intercooler at the moment, but there's one coming. And had exactly the same problem. So I know that there are slightly different injectors, so I wonder if it's that. Also, the MPG is really bad. So I don't know what that is. That's pretty much it. There will be another episode very soon on how to fit a 197 steering wheel. That we'll just go through the process if you've got cruise control already, assuming you have, because I've gone over cruise control in this video. So if you haven't got it, hopefully you've got it after this. And it should be an interesting one, much shorter than this. If you've managed to make this far, you're still listening to me talking, well done, but stop watching. It's not worth it anymore. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd really appreciate it if you did. Follow us on Instagram, trackit YT, and that's it. Over and out.